Hunt is presented by the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. The CCFR is Canada's gun lobby. Also brought to you by Vortex Canada, the force of optics. Prophet River Firearms, your source for Canada's finest firearms, optics, and accessories. Legal services provided by Loberg Ector, your complex commercial litigation experts.
Hey everybody, welcome to My Best Hunt. I'm your host, Rod Giltaka. Thanks for joining me again today on the show. Our special guest is Skyler Johnson. How are you, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me and happy to be here, Rod.
Well, the pleasure is mine, sir. At the beginning of the show, we'd like to give people an opportunity to just tell us a little bit about yourself, where people can find your work, how you got into filming hunts, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm 36 years old. I've been hunting for about 10 seasons in BC. And didn't come up through a hunting family. My dad would take my brothers and I out in the Okanagan. We go fishing and camping, and I always loved that. Always loved bird watching, believe it or not, growing up, and just always enjoyed kind of animals in the natural world. But I didn't get into hunting until about 2010, and my brother and I were invited back to Alberta when my brother served with the PPCLI, and the boys, after getting out of the Army, they're doing a bit of a reunion with the side of hunting, and I got invited to go along. So I was kind of excited to check it out. But we got up in northern Alberta. I think Athabasca River rings a bell. But we spent 5 or 6 days out there. And the last day of that hunt, my brother and I watched as our friend Sam, also served with him there. He belly crawled down a cut block, got in position on the edge of a forest, and we watched from the top of the hill as a green fletched arrow flew from the brush and hit a bull moose right behind his front shoulder. And we watched that animal go down and celebrating from the top of the hill. And we went down there and we helped obviously process the animal. We packed it up. It was a tough pack out. And that night, eating the meat in camp, never tasted anything better. And from that point, I was hooked. And so got into it in BC a few years later. And I've been kind of figuring it out on my own ever since, but making videos as well along the way.
Did you get into archery hunting?
Archery hunting, just more recently met some friends in the forest and became hunting buddies. And I think one of them's on your show, so stay tuned for his episode. But archery hunting the last few years and had some success with some white-tailed deer, but primarily rifle hunting, deer, bear, and throughout BC.
Well, we've had some bow hunting stories on the show.
Good.
And what an incredible challenge.
Yeah, I mean, that's challenging for sure, but sometimes it's hard enough shooting an animal with a rifle. So I'm just kind of sticking to to that for now.
For the most absolutely. Part. Why make things harder than they need to be?
For sure.
Until they need to be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So you haven't mentioned where people can find your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So my only social media that I'm promoting hunting on is Sky Edge YouTube channel. And I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years and pumping out the videos. Every season I get out a lot. I mean, I take all my vacation time in the fall and I get out and save it all for hunting. And generally I'll film the hunts. There's a bunch of hunts on there, spoiler alert, where I don't get animals, but there's a bunch on there where I do take some nice animals. And I think they're fun to watch. So if you're interested, check out Sky Edge YouTube.
Sky Edge. Okay. Yeah. So you have hunts where you don't get animals. So it's real.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of them. There's a lot of hunts where I'm not getting anything, but they're all special to me because I just like getting out there.
It is. So what kind of hunt are we talking about today?
Today, excited to share a stone sheep hunt in 2020. Got invited out with a couple of my friends. And, I actually offered to be the cameraman on a hunt that they were discussing. And after a little bit of discussion between them, they decided, we'll get Sky out. He can come with us and he can check out a stone sheep hunt. So it was my first time on a hunt of that scale, that magnitude, and being that remote. So I actually really didn't know what I was in for.
And what time of year was it?
The stone sheep season's in August, generally. Okay. Yeah. So we headed up north and started a big 12-day stone sheep hunt.
My Best Hunt is presented by the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. The CCFR is Canada's gun lobby. Also brought to you by Vortex Canada, Prophet River Firearms, and Loberg Ector.
Yeah, Rod, so like I said, with this hunt, excited to head north with these two guys, but I got to give you a bit of context, is that we hadn't actually been on too many hunts together before going on this one. We had gotten out for the spring bear hunt, which was a fun hunt. I had volunteered myself to be the third guy and the cameraman on this hunt. So what they did was they checked with the jet boat operator that they had kind of planned the hunt with and said, can we bring a third guy? And he goes, okay, I think we can. But how well do you know this guy? And do you know that it'll work with you guys out in the bush? Because what he advised them is when you go on a mountain hunt and it's as remote as it is, you really got to trust your hunting partners. You can't afford to get squirrely out there if someone starts changing their mind about maybe heading back, and you got to be able to kind of game plan it and be on the same page with the hunt. But they took a leap of faith on me, and I don't think I let them down on this one, but that's a kind of an important aspect with the mountain hunts. When you are that remote, you want to really trust your hunting partners and know that you could be on the same page and that you're a team out there.
Well, and speaking of how remote it was, so you're going to open up into the hunt, but that's something I think that you definitely should talk about, how remote it was.
Yeah, I mean, for a Vancouver guy like myself, the 19-hour drive up north to Fort Nelson, that's a big stretch. It takes you a little bit out of your comfort zone. And then from there, hopping on a jet boat and running up the river for a number of hours into complete wilderness before getting dropped off. And I just remember the moment that we were dropped off and we're kind of getting sorted, and you can hear the jet boat take off back downstream, and you kind of hear the sound of the engine peter off. And then at that point, you know you're alone, and things get real.
Like it was hours and hours, like 4 or 5 hours of boat, travel.
Yeah. And I had,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I forgot all about where we were. And, I wasn't keeping track of the river system. So we were really relying on that jet boat operator coming back, and the inReach in your pocket is your only lifeline at that point. But we were excited, really excited to be on this hunt and finally be here after all the planning and all the preparation, a little bit of training, trying to get in shape for all the mountain aspect of it. But we threw on the heavy packs. I think everyone's packing about a 70-pound bag, 75-pound bag, including rifle. And we started marching, and finding our way. We had a rough idea of where we needed to head, but no exact trail. So we did a little bit of bushwhacking, a lot of bushwhacking. And it was a trudge, and what I realized right away, almost off the bat, was that the mosquitoes liked me a lot more than they liked the other two guys, to the point where my hunting partners could wear a T-shirt and the mosquitoes would be after me.
I have the same problem.
Yeah. So it was a problem, but not much you can do about it at that point. You just got to keep hunting. But I think it was 5 or 6 hour heavy pack hike in. And we finally broke through kind of like a dense foresty area, like high brush, and emerged out into an open area on a lake. And it was that moment that I realized, like, we made it to sheep country. Absolutely beautiful, scenic area. The mountains, like, kind of flush with the sunset at that time, because it was evening as we got in. And I just was so excited to be there and to take it all in. We right away set up the tents. I kind of wanted a refuge from the mosquitoes. The other guys set up their spotters, and they started looking up at these mountains across the lake. And I just remember walking over and be like, so the sheep are up there, and what are we going to do if we see sheep up there? And they just both looked at each other and then looked at me, because I had no idea, what it would take to hunt a stone sheep. These animals, the kings of the mountains up there in the north, and they love those peaks and the windswept peaks, and I guess it keeps the bugs off them, but there's lots of feed, and they inhabit the high spots, and you got to put in the legwork to get up there and pursue these sheep. So it was that point I realized kind of what I got myself into, but I was game, I was excited. And the next morning, got up, hiked even deeper into the area, and now we're really leaving the river behind. We're a day and a half march in, set up an additional camp, and we're just glassing all these mountains, and we're starting to pick up some sheep. We're picking up ewes and lambs, big groups of them. Really cool to see them chasing each other around. The lambs are playful, but we're looking for rams, and specifically 8 years or better with stone sheep rams. That's the requirement in British Columbia. And so we did see some younger rams in the first portion of the hunt, smaller sheep, half curl. Still very exciting to see. You're starting to get in the right area, but not seeing the mature ram. So we just kept moving. We hiked and would hike up into the mountains to then get a better vantage point. In hindsight, and a wiser stone sheep hunter might spend more time on the bottom using their glass to do the walking. But we had to learn the hard way. Did a lot of glassing from high vantage points, saw a lot of beautiful country, and we picked up some sheep, but we still had some work to do because we'd yet to locate a legal ram.
Was it there first? sheep hunt?
It was Jess and Rich's second sheep hunt.
Okay.
Their first one was a failure. They didn't get very far. They ran out of water. They kind of tucked tail and got out of there, but they were enthusiastic to get out the following year, and that's the year that I joined them that we're talking about now.
Okay, so far, even just so far, if you think about it, it's quite an adventure.
Oh yeah, for everybody. They had a bit better of an idea of what it took because they had been out and fell short the first time. But it was my first hunt and a stone sheep hunt, I should say. And we're all excited to be out there, and we're determined.